Hello, everyone. My name is Tania Puente, and I'll be hosting this panel discussion called Collaborative Landscapes. Joining me in this conversation are Magdalena Molinari, Ering Gee, Victoria Papagni, and tobibienz. Thank you so much for being here today. I'd like to start by telling you a little bit about everyone, and later on, every duo will have time to share their projects. So Magdalena and Ering are currently working together on a project called Sensitive Superpositions, which is part of the Amplify program of the British Council, while Victoria and Toby recently shared a virtual residency called Yet to Come, where they were able to develop together the audiovisual work Parasite Selfie, which you can see in the festival's exhibition section. The main aim of this conversation is to encourage a dialogue where Victoria, Toby, Maggie, and Ering can share with us the experiences of working together, the cultural differences they may have faced in these exchanges, and what kind of sensibilities align or intertwine in order to nurture their projects as a way of outlining a collaborative landscape. So, apart from the obvious reference to the physical distance, we want to get to know how these collaboration processes stretch bonds in these virtual times. I would like to ask Maggie and Ering if they can please share with all of us the project in which they are working on. They have approximately 8 minutes, and afterwards, I'll introduce the other duo. So we have here Ering Gee. She's a Canadian artist and composer inspired by critical sensuality, pleasure, affect, haptics, and presence in digital architectures. Her work in vocal composition, network performance, ASMR, VR, AI, and robotics has been shown at venues such as Lab Festival, MUTEC, Toronto Biennale, Electra Festival, File Festival, Ars Electronica, and the Musée des Arts Contemporains de Montréal. Also accompanying Ering is Magdalena Molinari. She's an Argentinian architect and visual artist. Mixing electronics, coding, light, color, and video, her work explores the relations between control systems and spatial and material devices to create luminic installations that shape pure visuality instances, putting aside all the known references. Her work has been shown in many Argentinian and international venues, among them the Centro Cultural Recoleta and Centro Cultural Kirchner in Buenos Aires, as well as the Sporobol Artist Run Center in Quebec. And she has also participated in festivals like Sonar and MUTEC. So thank you, Ering and Magdalena, for being here today.
Thank you for inviting us. Should I start with? Okay.
Sure do.
So I will share a screen. Okay, now you can see my screen. It says sensitive superpositions.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, with Ering, what we agreed to do, because our collaboration is just starting, we are going to tell some ideas we had prior to starting the project, and then tell you about what tools are we using, how are we working together, and then what are our ideas for the future. So that's just about the presentation we will make. So first, something that Tania already said, that this project is part of the Amplify initiative, that it's an initiative from all these groups, institutions that promotes digital art in artists identified as women. So it's a very nice initiative that we are working now in this fund that I think it's important to say that one condition for the fund was to work with somebody from another country. You know, you couldn't work with somebody from your own country, but you had to do it with somebody from another country, and that's a very nice thing in this context to force us to work together in the distance. So, Erin, you want to continue?
Well, I think that we can really mostly speak about our approach to beginning the collaboration. Something that I find unique about working with Maggie is that right away it became clear that we should we're kind of sharing a Google Doc in a very specific way about our research. We're referring to it as the shared consciousness document. And it really feels this way. And it's important to take this approach because we're working with base materials about quantum physics. And this can be very cold and scientific, but we're really working with it in this very poetic shared consciousness way. And I think that this then makes our collaboration even more meaningful because it's not just a project about quantum physics anymore. It's about what does it mean for there to be a shared consciousness? What is the materiality of that? And how can technology make this happen? So it's exciting to have this kind of meta collaboration. We have been having weekly meetings, of course. We're not just all talking on Google. It's more like a superposition than a collage is something like it's very poetic, our approach. We're really, I guess that like we're mostly looking for means of working together and putting our sensibilities together. And so quantum physics becomes like the point, the meeting. And we're very interested in oscillations. So like, you know, we kind of meet and we unmeet, but our goal is a superposition. I guess maybe the next slide. Oh, I just realized that I did this kind of backwards. But anyways, this is where I come from. This is my kind of composition. I'm developing something called ASMR Tronica. It's a combination of ASMR, which is a very soothing, calming, whispering, physiologically inspired method of making sounds, and, you know, electroacoustic music. So press play and we can listen to a little bit of it. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining this experiment in wave reforming mind technology. Do not mistake your confusion or your doubt for panic. You're gonna have to buy into this a little. Just give me your focus and attention and listen, 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 listen. I'll make it all make sense. Breathe in. Breathe out. There. Just enjoy the sound of my voice, the material of it. Back to the wave. I think you're ready now. We're going to be feeling one another without touch today. Or rather, my voice is going to be touching you, or our voices will be touching one another. Imagine we share the same voice. Focus on feeling the sound of my voice. Can you feel it? Focus on the sound. So you can see that it's like a combination of like really untreated acoustic sounds with electronic madness.
Okay. Shall I continue, Erin?
No, I think that's enough.
So now I don't know, I wanted to show something, but just for me, it was important to say that for me, this is a challenge because I always work in physical devices, like installations with light. And since the pandemic, I started to, it was a desire I had before, but during the COVID thing, I realized I wanted to really take serious to start doing digital things. I work with code and I always use digital tools, but the things I show are always physical. So I'm starting with this project to work in a virtual way, and that's something new to me, so difficult, but also very interesting. So I wanted to show just my last project before this one, that it has a lot of things that I'm continuing working on, that it's looking at building something like a model for the lights from the sky. So I will show a short video and talk, because the music is not important in this case. So I did this installation that it's now in a cultural center. Nobody can see it, but it's there. I will put some more quality. Sorry. And it's I think it's 70 lights that replicates the lights from the sky. So I made like a sky color simulator, and then took colors from there to translate it to physical lights. And well, this is the result. But for working in this project, I worked with 3D modeling and also with a generative program to try to find different options for the final shape. So I want to start doing more organic projects, using the fact that in digital art you can, I don't know, make things change shape in time, in real time. That's a very interesting thing with this kind of projects, where you have a lot of different possibilities with shape. So yeah, I think that's enough to tell you about this.
Perfect. We'll get to learn more about it in our dialogue. Yours.
I didn't finish. I don't know if we have more time. Yes.
1 minute.
Out of time? Oh.
Only 1 minute? Okay, let's go.
We can give you 2. We can give you 2 for sure.
Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about, maybe Ering can say it better than me in English.
Well, the thing is that I did it backwards. I was supposed to do this part and then, so I already did it, so we can skip it.
Okay. So one more thing I want to show, we wanted to show something Ering already said, but maybe we didn't saw it, so it's good to say it again, is that we are working with 2 different tools. One is a shared document where we write things. I wanted to show you just like a peep of what we are doing. So we start writing, and at the beginning we start like having a color code, but then the color changed it every time we had different moods. So we realized that it wasn't very important. It wasn't important who wrote what, because after a while we start reading the first things, and it was very interesting, like a conversation with like in your head, or in our shared consciousness, what we call it. So now we work like that every time we have an idea or think about this, and we write new things. So now it's like a shared conscious. And then the other tool is we are creating an Unity environment. I'm new to Unity. Ering is not, so she's helping me a lot with that. But I'm loving it. I really like it. So I don't know. We are working, trying to embed some Rhino and Grasshopper, like these other programs that I use to generate generative geometries, but also keeping it simple, you know, like working with light and movement, and these oscillating movements are like the key of how we are working with shapes. And yeah, that's our two main tools. So just for finishing, I don't know if you want to say something about this.
I can just say it in an ASMR voice. Yeah. Our shared consciousness is a material that we shape and express as the virtual space resonates.
That's cool. So yeah, I think one thing we wanted to say that we discussed about your question, Tanya, about how are a question that you told us before about what are the pros and cons of this way of collaborating. And when you say this way of collaborating, we interpret not only working with others, but also working in a distance. You know, there's two parts of that question. So for me, it takes, well, we both agree that it takes sensitive, patience, and imagination. Sensitive to be able to connect with the other person. Patient because it's not that easy to connect sometimes, you know, you have to be patient. And then imagination because since we are not in the same place, there's some factors about working with the other person that we missed, like, I don't know, the sense of touch or smelling the other person. So you have to have a little bit of imagination. And also, Eddie, do you want to say something else? No?
No, I have a question.
Okay.
It's clear that our presentation is way too long because that was way more than 2 minutes. What should we cut?
No, it's okay. It's okay. We'll just continue, and afterwards we'll tackle all the questions within the dialogue.
Okay, as long as it's okay. Perfect. Going on.
Yeah, we're perfect. Thank you so much, girls. This is super interesting, and I'm pretty much sure, like, once we start, like, also reviewing Vicky and Toby's work, we're going to find some similarities, but at the same time, other different things that have happened in that project. So with that said, I'll introduce Victoria Papagni. Victoria Papagni is an Argentinian transdisciplinary artist interested in new media and post-internet digital culture. Her videos, installations, 3D sculptures, and performances have been exhibited in venues such as Centro Cultural San Martín and Museo de la Cárcova, as well as in international festivals like the Wrong New Digital Art Biennale and Reconnect Festival. And Victoria was awarded recently with the second place at the 108th National Visual Arts Salon in Argentina. And as for tobibienz grew up in a puppet theater in Switzerland. Toby works in the fields of performance arts, music, and theater. Toby's work is always on the edge of art, activism, and politics. Toby studied classical guitar and acting, but left the university for the creation of the performance art projects Baustelle.org and Pristin Mon Amour in Kosovo and Serbia. Toby has created works in Hong Kong, China, Burkina Faso, Kosovo, Italy, and Serbia. And Toby fell in love with a cockroach in the rooftop of a skyscraper during the protests in Hong Kong, and works with critters ever since. Victoria and Toby collaborated recently in the Reconnect Festival virtual residency Yet to Come, and they are going to talk about Parasite Selfie, the work they produced together now. So thank you, Victoria and Toby, for being here.
Thank you for inviting us. Now I'm going to share my screen. We're going to show a trailer from our project. Our project actually has different outputs, but the output that is participating on the Plus Code Festival is the audiovisual output. So now we're going to see a trailer. Okay, so this is our little trailer. The video actually has 7 minutes. So we invite you to see it complete in the Plus Code Festival website. Well, for start, I can say that this was actually a bigger collaboration than just Toby and me. We work in an interspecies collaboration with the cockroaches that Toby raises cockroaches since he meets them in China. And we also collaborate with objects, with these technological objects that actually are avatars, are my avatars. I work with this selfie or 3D selfie that I sculpt in a software and then I print it. Actually, for this specific work, we print them in Zurich. But I also have my 3D sculptures here in Argentina, and I developed a few works with them. And they were functioning as my own representation there in Zurich. I think that this my cyber presence with the cockroach and with Toby as a performer is very descriptive of our relationship between the collab process. So we made this trilogy of this horizontal trilogy of these characters from the video, selfies, 3D selfie, printed on a biomaterial because this way it was more comfortable for the cockroaches. The Toby as a performer, his body, and the cockroaches. So they are like interacting and they affect each other and they are modeling our subjectivity. Toby, maybe you want to continue?
How? What to say? I'm not so sure about what, but it was a very beautiful process. We started in January, and we had somehow we started also with writing letters.
Yeah.
Somehow it seems the very best way to get to know someone that you don't know so far away. So the writing letter even was better than to start with Zoom or something, because somehow it's very intimate still. I wrote in handwritten letters because it's my thing, because I'm old. And Victoria wrote email letter. So we started like this, and then we had performances also in Bulgaria, because somehow it matched really good, we can say. We don't have to think too much, we just talk. It's not that we have, somehow it's strange. It's not that we have to argue a lot about stuff. We just try out things, and somehow it matches. And so we had a show also in Bulgaria and a tryout there. And here in Zurich, in the nail art studio, is the Always exhibition, because I live with the small creatures, and they live now inside Victoria's head. Here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Here, there is an installation. Maybe you can show it a little bit.
I have one.
We have an installation in the nail shop in Zurich, and actually the hand that it's on the video was made by the artist from this nail art shop. I mean,
wait, let's try. Maybe we can move. Is the connection still good? Yeah, it's working. Okay. Let me give you a tour through Zurich. Here, this is the nail shop. Here is some pictures, and here they do the nail art.
Yeah.
And here down is where the cockroaches now live, and it's the installation with Victoria's heads.
Your head is now a home, Victoria.
Yeah, a cockroach is home. Yeah. Well, actually, our like dynamic, it's very collaborative. I mean, me in my particular work, I do the same, and Toby also do the same. So we really work with a big team. In the trailer, we can't see the credits, but in the original video, they are. So we really work with the artists in the nail shop. We also work with a musician guy, a sound professional from cinema, a camera guy. I mean, we really move a lot of people around our project, and I think that it's part of our dynamic, like a really collaborative team.
And somehow, maybe I don't know so much about what we should talk actually, but what is a lot of times also by the other format, it was always the question how you do with digital and don't meeting and stuff. And somehow I really don't feel as if we don't meet. It felt, because we were so much in long talks and also working, having the hustle together, like the stress, the production, or this very long intimate talks. So somehow, if I think on the work, I don't think like, it was just digital. Somehow through Zoom and writing, and also having like different projects in physical space, even though you were never here and I had to learn 3D printing and everything. It doesn't feel as if we didn't met or lose. It came in my mind when you mentioned before, like you missed the touch and the feeling, and somehow it's very true. We try to apply on a million different stuff to somehow be finally able to meet in one space and to work together. But strangely, it's not that, if I think back on the process, it's not that different than if we would have worked in one atelier. Like just from the feeling, I don't know.
I find it very interesting what you're mentioning right now, Toby, since this might be like the strongest bridge that connects both projects. There's something within working in the distance that makes you, well, yeah, the four of you, think about senses and how to connect with the other. And your two projects are working with the body in different ways and all the time trying to share that experience, but it is a sensorial experience. It's not just something based on research, but rather on creating sensations on those who are watching, but also between you. Like in the case of Toby and Victoria, there's this, well, the creatures, these little baby cockroaches that live inside Vicky's head and also walk on Toby's body. And they are also connecting them. Like there's this other species that creates a link between them. And as for Maggie and Ering, I keep on thinking about this shared consciousness. Like you are creating a being where you can relate. There's this need of putting the body and thinking of the body and building a sensitive body in both projects. And I think this is very significant because both of you are very far away. I think Ering and Maggie do know each other physically, right? Or no? Wonderful. Like we are all little avatars on screens, but at the same time, you're all pushing forward to build a body. Would you like to share something on this idea?
Yeah, I think, sorry. I think it's, okay, I think that's totally true. I like that idea because it's like we are thinking more about the senses and maybe what makes connect how we can connect the proprioception, like the sensations inside of yourself with the external sensations, and trying to generate an environment for that connection. So yeah, I think totally. I was thinking that it's not just because we are far away, because I think there's like this artistic way of thinking distance also, no? Like how do you work with others in a creative project? What are the tools you have? How do you use them? And I think that's very interesting. It's like what we have to do as artists in this context.
I think I'm really blessed to be working with Maggie because I love working the way Maggie wants to work with the shared consciousness and the poetry and stuff like that, because we were both talking about how the kind of the opposite of what we're trying to do, and we're not even sure if it will work, but this is the goal and this is the almost like the interior performance of what we're doing. But it would be like safer in a way for us to be kind of like split, and I do the sound, Maggie does the visuals, but it's kind of like we're both making a soup together, and so we kind of need to argue or discuss or appreciate like how much cinnamon or salt gets into the soup. And we're not making a meal where like one person makes the asparagus and the other makes the fish. It's all the same thing. And the senses are involved in this too, because if there's ever a tension, there's something like a relationship that gets built when you can have coffee with someone or share a beer or an actual meal that exists outside of the collaboration. But it's challenging when Maggie and our relationship really exists in the context of this collaboration. So it's precious, for better and for worse.
Well, in our case, I totally agree with what you have said, Tanya. And also, I think that touch, it's the action that connects all these characters. I mean, they are related to each other by touch. And also, we really work with this haptic concept, haptic image concept. And the sound actually was like a really good tool for that. With this precise and really texture sound, and also this macro lens and this really close images. I think that these formal aspects really help us to construct a really sensorial experience, because as well we want to make this, I mean, we want to make this sexy cockroach, like to turn a cockroach to something attractive, because it's this symbol of marginal and disgust creature.
There's a little bit of ASMR in the cockroach little steps as well, right?
A little, sorry, I didn't understand. A little what?
ASMR.
Yes, totally. Yeah, really, I love ASMR.
I mean, this
totally
was
inspired
also
by that.
First, we had the video and just the sound guy, right? I mean, this was, and then you just called someone that is doing usually like a sound effect for movies.
Yes.
Because it was like, fuck the cockroach, somehow it's just an image and just the sound really brings it like, that you somehow feel it.
Yeah, really close to you. Yeah, totally. Yes.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that of all of your projects. Like, you're truly thinking about who is going to watch that and what do you want those persons to feel. Like, there's a deep connection interweaving between you, like working together, talking, discussing, exchanging, writing for each other. Like, writing is something super hard as well. Like, we don't take time anymore to truly try to pour out our feelings there. And there's this methodology between both of your I don't know how to call it, like duos or teams, artistic teams in the making, that is certainly a great example on how to work together and how to be together. Toby, you were saying.
Yeah, maybe a question to the two of you. Like, sometimes I feel also, you said writing is hard, but sometimes I feel like in writing it's much easier to be to share intimate shit, because you're writing it and the other person will read it later. Like, you're not confronted with the immediate reaction of the other person. So sometimes I feel it reminded when you said like this conscious thing, like common consciousness, third conscious, like that. Sometimes when you write, it's even easier to open up, especially if you don't know someone. It's like writing a diary, no? Also is easier than sometimes to talk to your best friend, because your best friend is still, I don't know, judging you, or you need to find the right words. And when you write, you don't need to find the right words necessarily. Or how you see it, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you, Toby. Yeah, totally. It's like very weird, because I think after, I don't know, if we are lucky enough to meet in person, it's like you really know this person that you don't know physically. So it's like very, I don't know, after like very after pandemic situation, when you start to try to connect desperately with others in different ways. And also about opening, I think that it's very interesting, because sometimes I'm working in the project, because just like working in Unity and doing things, and I start thinking things and I write. So there's like a connection with another person that it doesn't require like synchronicity. It could be asynchronic, because is there our document. We are always sharing things there whenever we want. So it's like also not tied to time synchronicity.
It's a different kind of conversation too, because I I'm inspired by Magdalena's poetry and I respond poetically. And I think it's the same, and that's part of the shared the shared consciousness is it's almost like we are kind of like in my I always think about mouths and larynx, and I feel like through the Google Doc we can kind of at least share the same mouth, because the Google Doc is what talks. We just put our words in.
I love this. Like every technological device or tool is anthropomorphized. You know, like everything has a body or a part of a body or a shape. Like shapes talk in this conversation. We are heading to the end of this dialogue, guys. So I've got two last questions for you. The first one is, have you ever done this before? And the second one would be, what kind of like advice would you give to other artists who would like to work in this way, like within the virtuality? How would you shape this common ground of exchange and artistic creation?
Just take enough time to talk, I think. Like really to talk, not to think of the project, but but to talk. And then whatever it is, I mean, for me, it was because I'm very performative thinking. So I was looking first thing to have a space to actually create something physically, even though it's because I'm not so much about laptops, but more about physical stuff. So we found a way, and then I learned in the process to do 3D printing and really weird stuff, which I thought I will never, like, if you ask me, I would never do stuff like this, but now I'm doing. But I think really to talk or to write, and then not to think of concepts too much first. To enjoy that you work with someone that is so far away, he can never slap you. Maybe.
I did this in 2020. I collaborated really intensely with somebody in New York who I have never met. I mean, I think that this once again speaks to cultural differences and stuff too, is that this person, I think, comes from a very different culture than my own, and it would often just kind of come up and surprise me how methods of working, behaving under stress, communicating were very different between us. But I think it's also really hard to say that this is like a cultural difference. I'm interacting with a single person, and they can't become a microscope, you know, a microcosm of a whole country. So I will say that like I did feel her culture being like the culture of like her as an individual, and I think it would it's important to talk about feelings. Yeah, pay attention to feelings.
It's important and it's something like sometimes we're not that used to, right? In terms of professional codes of behavior and stuff, maybe feelings don't tend to have like a role character. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a sensitive question. And it's even more sensitive in a group that has put the word sensitive in the title.
Vicky and Maggie, would you like to add something?
Yeah, in my personal case, I've worked with collaborators. I think 2019, sorry. I worked with a 3D animator that I didn't know before. and he lives in La Plata. It's a city it's a different city from Argentina. And we didn't met each other, and we did a great video, but it's still, we have like the same taste, and I already know his work and he already knows my work. So we didn't have at that time this cultural difference and this, we don't speak the same language. I mean, we speak English, but there are a lot of difference, a huge difference. So it was a really great experience for me. And as a digital artist, I also really, really, really want to use new media for this type of projects, like to expand my collaborative network through the work, like literally, because it seems so easy. And I don't know, for me, it was like a really incredible experience. Like I never thought, I never imagined that we would do this artwork that we did. Totally surprise for me. And actually we want to take our project further, and we are looking for more residents to continue our collaborative process and our team. So if I have to say something to another artist, it's just try. I mean, it's like the art practice itself is like try. You have to be brave and try and just see.
Love the braveness there.
In my case, I've never done a distance collaboration before. I collaborate with a lot of artists before, but not in distance. And I don't know, I think there's a difficult component in working with others, but it doesn't have to be something about distance, but about working with others. But I think it's the most difficult and most beautiful thing at the same time. And I don't know, at the end is the most important things we can do to try to make things with other people, not being just in your head alone. So I think there's always something to win there, something bigger than yourself, something bigger than the people that are doing that happening. So yeah, I think it's a thing to try, for sure.
We couldn't agree more. So we thank you guys for being here today. We truly appreciate you sharing us our like all your experiences in this process, and we're looking forward to see sensitive superpositions. And we also invite all of you who are watching this to go see Parasite Selfie in the exhibition section of the festival. So thank you and stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye.